Freelancers, small business owners, consultants, and solopreneurs. Some people are just drawn to working for themselves. I'm Owen Roth. In this show, I have conversations with self-employed folks about their career journeys. Welcome to the Bossless Path podcast.
And here we go. Today I'm joined by Dr. Jason Young, owner and operator of Body of Health Chiropractor here in Corvallis, Oregon. Jason, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
I just gave a really brief encapsulation of your title, but you do a lot of things.
I probably do too many things.
Yeah, too many, yeah. Lay it out for us. What do you do?
First of all, we'll get to the reason that you have me here, which is that I have a chiropractic clinic. And so I've been operating Body of Health Chiropractic and Wellness Center here. We're coming up on our 16th year, actually. So pretty soon my clinic will be old enough to drive. It'll make it much more difficult for people to find, as it's driving around town and everything like that. I would like to get to the point where the clinic actually sleeps in. So, but that's, we mostly just start early and help people. So, yeah. So, I've been doing that for about 16 years. And I've been a chiropractic patient pretty much my whole life. Like, first time I got adjusted was when I was like 2-3 days old. My mom dragged me down to the chiropractor and he fixed, I guess, whatever was wrong. I don't remember it very well.
I didn't know that they did chiropractic.
Oh, yes.
Infants.
Yes. If you got a spine, you can see a chiropractor, basically. So there's some politicians that probably wouldn't qualify based on that, but it really is for everybody. So, it's a family business. Like I started it with my wife. She's the office manager there. All of my kids have grown up working there in some capacity, whether it's scrubbing toilets or scrubbing toilets. And
a lot of variety. Yeah.
No, we've always had the family involved in the clinic. Like early on, like when we started it, we had 2 and a 3-year-old. And so
when you started, they were already 2
they were 2 and 3. Yeah. So every single day they were down there with us, and half of my office was their little playrooms. So they would play with toys and watch shows and stuff like that. And then now those two are sophomores at Oregon State, and they work at the front desk. And so like when you say it's a family business, it really is a family business. Everybody has worked in it. And
yeah, that's awesome. So there's multiple chiropractors in the business. You're one of them, obviously.
Yeah. Well, there used to be.
No. There used to be. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I had an associate up until this summer, and then he moved to Utah. And so that apparently was too long of a commute. And so
that's a pretty big commute.
Yeah, I didn't see a problem with it. Like, show up in the morning, do your job, drive home, high five your wife, and then get back on the road. But apparently he wasn't down with that. So yeah,
somewhat understandable.
Yeah. So and that was like always an interesting thing, because I spent a lot of my career just really kind of I don't know, a lot of times, like when you run into people like in business or whatever, you're coming into the phase where they've gotten a certain number of things figured out and they look like, oh, they know what they're doing, right? And so, but I think if you talk to any business owner, there's always aspects of it that are just like, we're making this up as we go along, right? So
every business owner in my experience.
Absolutely. And so, for a long time, I had a lot of apprehension about having an associate, another doctor there working with me, because I was like, oh no, if I bring somebody on, they're going to see that I don't know what I'm doing. And then, and that's not going to look good. And so we got over that fear, found ourselves somebody really great to work with. And, he moved to Utah because his wife didn't like Oregon. So at least that's what he told us. So right now, and that was good, because having an employee is a skill, right? And I've had employees, but this was the first time I had another doctor.
Yeah.
And that was a whole different thing from, having an assistant or a front desk person or
Okay.
anything like that. So it was a good learning experience. And so now I'm in the process of trying to find another one and do it better the second time around. And so, but that's how these things go. They're iterative. You do it over and over until you do it in a way that people think that you know what you're doing.
Is that's the overall goal?
Yeah. I think that's just the outcome, is that people eventually think that you know what you're doing, and
Sure, yeah.
maybe one day you'll believe them. So yeah. But yeah. So right now I am the guy, and so it's really busy, but it's also really fulfilling. I like all of my patients. I like some of my patients. No, I like most. Okay, there's a few of them that I don't like, but they would never know it. So, so it is really nice to be able to interact with all those people, and we have a really great team that we all support each other, and so yeah, it's good.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you guys also do work with OSU athletics as well.
Yes, that's actually, I just came straight from, just kind of around the corner here. Working on athletes there at OSU. So we have been doing all the chiropractic and massage for the Oregon State Athletic Department since 2011. So it's kind of funny. I went down there today, and the building is locked where you go to the training room. And there's a code that you use to open the door, and I was fumbling the code because I had stuff in my hands. Well, this lady comes and she opens the door, actually to let somebody else out. And she's like, "Oh, you can come on in." And I was like, "Oh, okay." She's like, "But like, what are you doing here?" I was like, "What am I doing here?" I was like, I'm here to work on athletes." She's like, "Really?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm the chiropractor."
You're not a familiar face at this point?
Well, she's the new one. That's the thing that's funny. I was like, "Yeah, I've been doing this longer than this building has been here." She's like, "What?" She's like, "I've never seen you." I said, "Yeah, that's probably because you're new, not because I'm new."
Yeah.
I was like, "There's only about 3 or 4 people that have been here longer than me." And so yeah, it's been interesting to see things change, and they're changing again now. We had a head coach move on, and so there's a lot of turnover and change and everything like that. And so this is the third time that I've been here for that, and so that's really been an interesting thing. But the reason I do that is, well, a couple reasons. Number one, I think if you're a chiropractor in a town that has a Division I school, that's like that golden egg that you want to go get.
Of course.
You don't know what you get for getting it, but is there a bunch of money or like prestige or something? You don't really know until you get there. And then number two, I'm just like a really big fan. Like, I grew up in this town, and so I've always been down with the Beavers, and so it's fun to be able to feel like I contribute when they're successful.
Yeah.
And so that's been really, really enjoyable over the years, and so yeah. That's what I do. That's one of the things that I do, at least. So
yeah. So you've got a couple, you're interacting with people like me every day, normal people, whatever you want to call us, whether you like us or not. And then you've got the athletics, specifically with OSU as well.
Yeah, and I've done a bunch of other stuff too. I've had some opportunities to be in leadership in chiropractic. Like, for example, I was on the state licensing board for 6 years.
Oh, wow.
I used to be the president of that board, and that was really educational, eye-opening opportunity to some of it is like discipline, right? Like, there's some naughty doctor doing something that they shouldn't do, or somebody has a complaint, and so it's an interesting opportunity because you actually represent the people of Oregon, not the profession.
Oh, really?
Yes. And so that's the way that regulatory boards work. So, like any of them. So if you had a complaint against a dentist, there's a dental board, and that board's job is to represent the people of Oregon. and kind of police themselves. And so,
Huh.
so that was something that I did for a while, and it gave me an opportunity to make a lot of really good connections in the state. I learned a lot about chiropractic, about healthcare, about people.
Is that something that you had to scale back on your business so you could make time for that? What type of time commitments?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, back in the day, I didn't take lunches, and so like I was just I have maybe sometimes an unhealthy work ethic where it was like I would go and I would do that stuff, but then I'd always find a way to kind of make it up in terms of adding on hours here or there.
Oh, man.
And so yeah, so it did cost in terms of time away from the practice. So like, there's maybe 4 or 5 hours a month that you have to put into that, but I'd always find a way to make it up on the back end.
Yeah.
But then eventually, one of the opportunities that opened up from that was to be on the board of directors for the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners, which is a very prestigious position that maybe 100 people have heard of.
Unfortunately, I'm not one of them.
Yeah,
So you have to explain with that.
Most chiropractors don't even remember that it exists.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, but it was a real honor to be a member of that board, and it's what they do is it's a company that they make all the board examinations for chiropractors. So you have to pass 4 parts of boards, and so everybody has to take the tests, and so the company exists to really stress out a lot of young future chiropractors, but also it's a public protection thing because if you go to see a chiropractor, you want to know that they meet certain standards, right?
Yeah.
Because of safety. And so it was neat to be on that board. I did, well, 1 and a little bit of a term on there because there was some drama and I resigned. But it was still like a neat opportunity to get some exposure, learn more about the profession, learn more about people. And also it taught me a lot about like my business and how to do business. And
Oh, is that right?
yeah. So it was it's a $40 million company, and I'm on the board of directors of this company. It's like, well, that's weird because I don't really think of myself as that guy, right?
How did you get there? Was that something that you just fell into?
So it goes back to the state licensing board. So
Okay.
one of my best friends now is somebody that I met while serving on that board, and he was appointed to the national board. And then there came a point where he was like, you know what, you should really do this. And so I went, and they have an election process and everything like that. And I got elected and I served with him, and it was really fun. He's awesome. It's really cool because he's done a lot of wonderful things for people in the state of Oregon, also the profession, and like nobody would even know it, right?
Yeah.
Like if he was in the room, you wouldn't even know it. But we're like-minded in that we like the service aspect of it and everything like that. So yeah, so that was a really good education. It's given me a lot of opportunities to, develop professionally and personally. And yeah, I think I was really, really kind of lucky to be able to do that. And so,
Yeah.
and it's weird because people look at it and they're like, oh my gosh, you're awesome. You did this. And it's like, it's awesome that I got to do that, but I really just feel like lucky. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, because I'm a normal dude. So
Well, I mean, yeah. You sounds like you have high ambition, though. Not everyone has that.
I do. I think I want to do the things that I want to do, but I'm not a guy that like looks at stuff and it's like, that's mine.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
gonna be
You
mine.
pick it out and then you just like
Yeah,
that target.
right. Yeah.
It always amazes me in the medical field, of the private practice side of medical field, whether it's a general practitioner or a chiropractor, what have you, like that someone would go to school and what they're being taught is medicine.
Mhm.
And then they would open a practice, and that's like business skills, which are kind of different skills. And it always, like every time I would go to my general practitioner for a checkup, I'm like, understand how they got here. Like,
Right.
how are they operating a business, but they went to school and they really were focused on the medical side of
Yes.
education. That always
Yeah.
baffled me.
Well, and it's cool that you picked up on that because it's a huge issue, right?
Yeah.
One of the painful things that you have to learn whenever you are a doctor and you go and you start a private practice, which, first of all, that is becoming less and less of a thing.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, the world of healthcare is changing to where the average medical doctor will not step out and open a practice or have a private practice. They will go work at a hospital, and the hospitals are run by corporations, not by people who are necessarily interested in helping people. They do help people. I'm not trying to bash hospitals at all.
Right. But yeah,
they're beholden to shareholders.
yeah, we all know what that means.
Yes, exactly. So, yeah, I don't know in the future how many doctors you'll have who will just be like, I want to move to this town. I want to help these people. I want to deliver babies and, stitch up lips or what do you stitch? I don't know. Cuts. Yeah, stitch cuts. Don't stitch people's lips.
I haven't had a lot of stitching, so I don't know. Yeah.
But so you get out there and there's just kind of this automatic assumption because in our society, we tend to, we really elevate doctors and healthcare providers. And we think that these are super smart people who always have the answer, who know what to do in every situation. You watch if you watch like any TV shows about doctors like Grey's Anatomy, like all the doctors are really good looking and they have these amazing love lives and they always have an answer and they're saving and stuff like that. So as a society, we really prop healthcare providers up and we just assume they know how to do business. And so there is a practice and there is a business, right? And so that's something that I had to learn is that I have a practice and that practice exists inside of my business. And so there was a long time where I didn't really have my eye on the ball in terms of things like collections and billing and stuff like that. And I'm like, I need to take care of the people and everything like that.
Yeah.
That sounds really super noble, but it's not always because it's not sustainable.
I was just going to say, yeah, sustainable. Because if you can't help someone in 2 years from now, then you're not helping anyone.
Exactly. Well, and the other thing too is because I've done it both ways, where I've helped a lot of people and not made any money doing it, and where I've helped a lot of people and made good money doing it.
Yeah.
My ability to help people when I'm also able to accomplish some of these business goals increases my ability to help people because I'm able to add things, right, that I didn't have before. When you don't have when you don't have enough to take care of your family or take care of yourself, when you're not getting satisfaction in terms of seeing the results of your hard work, not just in how it affects people's lives, but also how it supports your family and the people who work for you, it's hard to have enough to give patients, right? There's this concept that's been going through my mind like the last few months, actually since my associate left, because now I'm carrying 2 patient bases. And it's a lot. It's very, very busy. I'm seeing like 150 to 160 patient visits a week. I just actually looked at the statistics the other day, and about 75% of chiropractors are seeing between 0 and 100 patient visits a week, and so 7% are doing what I'm doing, and I understand why. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
And sometimes the idea that's been going through my mind sometimes is, am I here trading my health for other people's health? And so sometimes it's like, ooh, yeah, that it feels like that. And my situation is temporary, like I'm trying to add somebody, but that doesn't always feel healthy, right?
Right.
And it's hard to be a healthcare provider when you're doing something that doesn't feel healthy. And it's the same thing, I think, with finances in terms of, you have to be able to realize some of that financial success because that is a healthy thing. Like it cost me a lot to become a doctor. It cost me a lot to have this clinic. It's taken like blood, sweat, and tears to build up a reputation, to get the connection with Oregon State and everything like that. And so I have to be able to see the the economic rewards of that
Sure.
in order to really feel like I should about it, right? Because otherwise, the risk that I run is that I show up and you come in, you're having the worst day of your life, and I'm feeling resentful because I got to figure out how to pay a bill,
Yeah.
right? Do you deserve that? No, you don't deserve that, right? You're going and you're looking for help, and so I'm not saying that like doctors should be greedy or in healthcare we should be greedy, but they're when you're a doctor and you have a private practice, it's important to understand that there is a practice and there is a business, and they're related, but they're not the same, right? When I was a regulator on the state board, what you see is a lot of kind of overlap between those, and that gets some doctors into trouble because they are taking their practice and they're trying to figure out how to squeeze the most money out of it. And so then it leads them to do some unethical things, right? Maybe some unethical billing practices or advertising practices and things like that. And then that is what leads to problems. Or maybe they're not having a very successful practice. Like they're not seeing as many patients as they thought that they were going to be seeing, or they're not getting the outcomes that they want. And so they start looking for shortcuts. And there's no shortage of people who will sell you practice management advice or coaching and things like that. And they're really just teaching these doctors to do things that are unethical, that violate their state laws and stuff like that. And so then these people, they start making some money, but then before they know it, they found out that they've gotten in trouble because they've had a complaint filed. And so there really is a need for good business healthcare education. And it's not just for chiropractors, it's for like dentists and medical doctors and physician's assistants and everything like that,
Right.
so that people can they can find a balance between economic success that they deserve for the investment of time and education that they've done and the hard work that they're putting into it, and also being able to balance out being a really, really good healthcare provider, bringing your skills, your passion, and what your patients need to that equation. So it's not an easy thing.
It's quite a delicate balance, it sounds like,
It is,
but an important one.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like it absolutely is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think that it shows up in really a bad way for a lot of people, the experiences that they have when they go to like a big hospital or some sort of corporate style healthcare thing, where it's like people come away from that and they feel very dissatisfied. And I think that it's because they feel like it's the money that's being put over the practice.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And so there's so much like CYA stuff in terms of what's practice, because like we don't want to get sued, or this corporate entity told us we got to do it this way, this way, this way. And so it makes it it doesn't do for people what they need, right? And that's really unfortunate, I think, because it hurts people's trust in all healthcare providers, not just that entity.
Right. It's building that general atmosphere of distrust and dissatisfaction. Yeah. Well, it sounds extra valuable that you have done the things you did and like had the education and the business side of things. And
I hope it is.
I mean, it sounds, I mean, just having this, the fact that you can have this conversation and say all the stuff you did obviously demonstrates that you're aware and you think of this stuff on a daily basis. And I'm sure that reflects on your practice and your business.
I think it does. And I don't think that I have it all figured out. I mean, there's still like, we've got lots of holes to plug and stuff like that.
Well, like we were talking about earlier, human, and this is what we do as humans, whether we're in business or not, is
right.
There's always room for improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think one of the things that's been nice is that we've gotten ourselves into a position where we could take Medicaid insurance, which there's almost no chiropractic clinics out there that do, because it just doesn't reimburse well.
Right.
But there's a lot of people who need it. And one of the big challenges there is typically if you have Medicaid or like OHP, Oregon Health Plan.
Yeah.
One of the things that's really satisfying to us is sometimes people come in and they kind of have an attitude, and they're kind of gruff about it, and they're like, they're not very friendly when they go to schedule and stuff. But what we found is that people get used to kind of being treated like second-class citizens whenever they have that. We only have one standard of care, which is that we want people to feel better about feeling better. We want them to laugh and to be happy when they show up. We're going to do all the stuff for somebody who has Medicaid that we would for like an OSU athlete. And it's because we have one standard of care. And so people are like, I get a lot of satisfaction out of when people are like, wow, like you guys treat me like I've got really great health insurance. And it's like, well, if you find out how to work with these different insurances, then yeah, you do, right? Because we know these are the things, these are the ways that we can make it work and get you what you need. And so that's been really satisfying. And I wish that there was more doctors who didn't shy away from that just because they see that the numbers, the dollars and cents look small.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be pretty satisfying for a lot of people if they were to work that into their practice model. But yeah, it's that's been good too. It's also been bad, but it's been mostly good. So.
Yeah, well, like everything, it's not always pure good, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think my basic ethic in life is that if you do the right things, not just if you do one right thing, but if you do like the right things and you live by your principles, good things just follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that usually is how it works out. There's sometimes when bad stuff happens or, things feel really unfair, and it's just like, it's very easy, I think, to be really close to a problem. And and it's not until you're able to step back from that some and you see, oh, okay, this is an opportunity, right? It's I think that if you're in the right place at the right time, doing the right things, that you're genuinely looking out for like the welfare and the well-being and the good of like the people that you serve, the people in your community, your family, that things just work out. Good things happen. And so I just think that I have never gotten too stressed about things going bad. And so I think what that leads to is things working out. And you can have a little faith in yourself and the people that you care about and the people that believe in you. And good stuff happens. So
yeah,
it's pretty cool.
It is very cool. I mean, it kind of sounds like it's almost like you're describing a mindset to a degree of like positivity and just like what you said, doing the right thing various times. And I feel like that is super valuable. Doing good leads to good.
Yes.
For yourself and for others.
Absolutely. Like I'll give you a great example. Whenever we started our business, and I get questions from chiropractic students sometimes. I'm still really involved with like the chiropractic college that I went to and like try and help and mentor students. And people ask me, so like, tell me about like starting your own practice, because like the most common path for chiropractors is you finish and then you go and you work at a clinic for somebody else. And
finish at school.
Yeah, finish school. And then maybe you go work for somebody.
Right.
And you work for them for a few years and then you open your own thing.
Mm-hmm.
The other path that is pretty common is for people to finish school and then you just open your own practice, right?
Yeah. Which
is what we did. And they're like, so was that was that the right thing to do? And I was like, well, just barely, And when I came out of chiropractic school and my wife and I were like, yes, let's do this. Let's start a clinic. We didn't have like much in the way of business education. Like I should rewind some. So when I decided to become a chiropractor, it's while I was going to Oregon State, and I was actually a business student. And I was like maybe sophomore year of college. And
did you have any idea of what you wanted to use that degree for at that moment in time?
I knew that I wanted to own a business.
Okay.
I wanted to be a business owner, and I didn't know what kind of business. And
gotcha.
So I actually even remember the street that I was walking down when I was thinking about this. And I remember being there and thinking about like, well, what kind of business do I want to have? And I felt pretty confident that I could start a business and it could be successful. And I thought that just because, I mean, I don't think that I'm a genius, but I know that I'm not an idiot. And so it's like, there's lots of businesses out there. I could find a business that I could do, you know. But I thought when I have a business, I want a business where I know at the end of every day that I've helped somebody. And so I started thinking about what are the different things that I could do that would fit that bill. And so I thought, well, being a chiropractor would probably be easy. You know, I'd always gone to chiropractor.
Anyone could do that.
Yeah, sure. I push on a few backs, you know, do this a few times, right? But yeah, that was wrong. That was not easy. But it turned out to be a really good fit for me, right? So then you fast forward to when we get done with chiropractic school, it's like, okay, now it's time to be that business owner. Now, I didn't complete my OSU business education, and so I knew that there was going to be a lot of gaps in my knowledge of how to do business, like the taxes, the human resources, all that kind of stuff, all alongside learning to be a clinician. And so I think that like one of the early keys to our success was one simple mindset, and that was that we were going to fail and learn from failure, and hopefully only have to learn that lesson once, right? And so that was super valuable because then when we go and we have our first week, and our first week I think that we treated 8 people. And you look at that and it's like, wow, if we just do this for the rest of our career will be like 6 months long, you know? But you look at that and it's like, I could have had that experience and been like, man, I'm a failure. I'm only ever going to treat 8 people in a week. This is a disaster. And I've just doomed my wife, myself, my 2 little kids that I had at the time. I got 4 now. And that would have been it. And that sounds ridiculous now, 16 years later, when I've got a good thriving practice.
Yeah.
But I have plenty of colleagues who that's how they ended, right? That's just how they ended.
Oh,
it didn't go well at first,
and
so they thought that that's all that they were.
Hit the eject button. And then,
Yeah. And usually it wasn't just like, oh, this is really bad, I'm going to hit the eject button. It was, oh, this is really bad, I'm going to sit here and feel bad for myself, or I'm going to sulk. And I know I could think of 3 people specifically that they would go to work every day in their brand new clinic that they had taken out a loan for and everything. And they just sat there and they just waited. They waited for people to discover them, or, you know, and some of them went out and they did a bunch of hustling, but it was like busy work. It wasn't stuff that really mattered or was going to take them where they wanted to be.
Right.
And so, yeah, that was the thing, is we had that mindset though that we were going to fail and we were going to use those failures to make us better. And so when I tell people this, a question that I get pretty often is, how long did it take you before you would actually made it? We still have that mindset today. we're going to fail it.
You still haven't made it then.
Oh, well, and that's the thing, is we've made some things. We've made it in some areas.
Yeah.
But still, every single day, I'm learning things from how I've failed, right? So like going back to the associate, there was a point in that whole interaction where I felt like I failed. Like, what did I do wrong? Like, did I not pay the guy enough? I'm like, yeah, I paid him enough. You know, was I not nice enough? Was I not a good enough boss?
Yeah.
And I just had to learn that, you know, this is what happens. Like, people, they pack up and they move places, and it has nothing to do with me.
It's not a personal thing.
It's not a personal thing at all. Yeah. And so, it's really easy, especially in business, to make everything personal. Somebody didn't buy my product because they don't like me, or because I didn't talk loud enough, or I didn't, you know, my grip wasn't firm enough when I shook their hand. And it's not always that, but it's just like you get a chance to do a do-over and do the next best thing. And so so we just repeat that process over and over and over.
Yeah.
And I've had days where I felt like, okay, well, we're done. Like, it's over. We're toast. But it's just never been that way. We always show up to work and we work hard, and it's worked out so far. So
yeah.
But being willing to accept failure and mistakes as lessons and having a commitment to letting those things make you better, I think that is what any and every entrepreneur needs. And then it doesn't even matter what your business is. You know, you look at so many successful people out there who they've had this is like they've made themselves a huge success, but it's like their sixth or seventh or eighth business, and the other
Right.
ones are like you've never heard of them because they're horrible failures, but nobody remembers those. They only remember the
Success.
the one
Yeah.
big thing that you did.
Yeah.
So
That's interesting to hear because I experienced that, or that's the lens I try and look through a lot in
Mhm.
my own life, whether it's the business side of my life or personal side.
is that a photography pun?
Nah, a look through the lens. Yeah, I guess it was. It
Yeah.
wasn't intentional. Yeah, pun not intended,
Yeah.
but fully detected apparently.
You nailed it. You
Yeah.
nailed it. Yes. Lean into that.
Yeah. Good catch. I do look through that way of thinking a lot. Sometimes I don't know. Like I'm gonna use my personal health as an example. Yeah, I have back issues. I have scoliosis, which I'm sure you're familiar. You probably have patients that have scoliosis, and like I get really caught up sometimes, and I have to remind myself that like if I'm going through a flare up like I had recently, where it just like basically stops me from doing any of the fun things I like doing.
Hmm.
Soccer is like my biggest sport of choice, and that's the one that's actually affected the most by when I have flare ups of my back. And I will just look at it sometimes, and I'll just be like, man, like I just get down, and I look at it like, oh, I've had flare ups before, and this one's like just as bad, and it's getting worse. Like I'm just like, and I get sometimes really negative, just like it's never going to be better. And I forget that it can be better, and that this is actually a minority of my life is that period of time.
Right.
And then, and then fast forward like a month or two and I've got out of the funk and I'm feeling good like I am in the current moment. Thank you. Knock on whatever we got here. If you would.
Knock on furniture.
Yeah, knock on furniture. It's got wood in it. Yeah, and then I get to the good period of my health, and I'm just like, oh man, this is awesome. Like,
Hmm.
but one thing I have realized is I need to remember those times, keep it in mind what it felt like
Hmm.
to be with pain in the back. And this goes, I'm using that as an example, but it goes to business too,
Right.
and everything is just like you never forget what it was like. And then I guess that's gratitude, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I love that you brought that up because, one of the things I remember writing my business plan, and I did a bunch of research on, business plans and what do you need to do. And one of the things that you need to do in a business plan is you need to describe why your business is unique. And so as a chiropractor who graduated with I think there was 60 people I graduated with, I was thinking what is going to make me different from all those other people out there,
Mhm.
right? And so that was a very difficult concept to come up with. I did not feel like I was the most qualified or the most highly trained or maybe even the most skilled, and so those were really common things that you want to say is when it's what makes you different? Well, we do everything better, right? It's okay, so what does that even mean?
Right. Well, yeah, define that.
Yeah. So it took a lot of kind of soul searching to figure out, what do I want? What's the experience that I want people to have whenever they come to Body of Health?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I used to do, I don't really do this anymore, but I used to do stand-up comedy, and I did it because it was like skydiving without jumping out of a plane.
Yeah.
Right? It's the same sort of adrenaline rush. You get up on a stage, and people are like, okay, now you got to be funny, and you got to do it, or else you could the equivalent of emotionally splatting all over.
Well, they call it bombing, right?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it's terrible. But I did that, and it's kind of a thrill when you could get up there and even just get a couple laughs, right?
Yeah.
And so I've always enjoyed comedy and stuff like that, and I thought this is our thing. I want to be about the experience, right? And so fast forward years and years into the future, and that is really what our brand is. Our tagline is "Feel better about feeling better." You can go to any chiropractic clinic and you can get a pretty good adjustment. I know a few where you can get a crappy adjustment, but most of them you can get a pretty good adjustment anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But our brand is actually not about the treatments that we give. It's about the experience that people have. My staff can tell you this. Anybody who's worked for me could tell you this, that my number one goal when anybody comes into my clinic is that I want that person to laugh. And I want them to laugh every single time they come. And so that's kind of a tall order when you have somebody who's feeling bad because they can't play soccer because of their scoliosis.
Yeah.
And we do see some people who, from their perspective, they're in the worst moment of their life, right? They're wondering, am I going to be able to work? Am I ever going to be able to do my favorite sport again?
Yeah.
Is this going to be the rest of my life? I've had patients who come in and they're contemplating suicide because their situation is so bad. And how do I know? Well, because they talk about it. They're like, if I can't get this fixed, I don't want to live with this, And so it's like, well, now it's a great time for a joke.
Yeah.
Two nuns walk into a bar, and it's not like that. And sometimes it is, right? Sometimes it's telling some sort of weird, cheesy joke. Sometimes it is making fun of ourselves. Sometimes it is, just whatever it is. But that is our skill set. That is our craft. Is that we want to laugh with people, and if people can laugh in their worst moment, they can get better, right? And so. Yeah. I don't have the doctoring or the chiropractor skills to fix every problem that comes through my door.
Yeah.
Early on, like one of the most serious problems I ever saw was, I opened my practice in January of 2008. February 2008, my dad calls me and he says, "Hey, would you be willing to come?" It was a Saturday. "Could you come down to your clinic, treat mom? She's got a lot of pain. She thinks it's a rip." So I said, "Sure." So I go down there and I'm checking her out. I've been a chiropractor for about 6 weeks at this point, like an official chiropractor. And as I'm checking her out, there's just all these things that are wrong, not just ouch, but really wrong. And so there was even a moment where I was like, "Hang on, Mom, I'm going to go to my office. I want to look through some books." So I'm literally looking at notes that I made 3 months before about examinations and stuff. And I'm finding all these red flags. Long story short, that day was when we started down the road figuring out that my mom had stage 4 lung cancer, terminal. And she was gone 7 months later. And so that's a rough way to start your doctor career.
Start any career.
Yeah. So it was difficult, but one of the things that got me through that experience, and this is going to sound weird, but one of the things that got me through that experience was laughter, was humor, and it has a profound physiological effect on us. It gives us the ability to keep moving forward. If you can be having your worst moment and you can laugh at that moment, that's power. That's so powerful, right?
Yeah.
And some of my best experiences in my business, in my career, have been when people come and they are just at rock bottom, they feel terrible, and unexpectedly they will laugh. I love when people come in and they have a rib injury, which rib injuries are painful. They're so sharp and painful. It's like getting stabbed if you cough or anything like that. I love making those people laugh and the reason is because it's so painful, but it also feels so good. And the word for it, I guess, is catharsis. But that kind of dichotomy of being able to experience pleasure and pain at the same time, and know, like you said, that this is just a moment. I'm having a moment in my life, and I'm going to move on from it. And I get a lot out of that, and so I love it. That is our brand. We want people to feel better about feeling better, and it's great because it drips into every other aspect of life. Because physical pain is something that we all experience. It's the most normal thing in the world. If you don't experience physical pain, it's because there's something wrong with you, not because there's something right with you.
Right.
So people who don't experience physical pain, typically those are quadriplegics or drug addicts or something. I don't know. But the normal human experience is that you have physical pain. If you and I decide that we are going to run a marathon and we become elite marathon runners, because I don't know what, we're psychopaths or we're crazy or something. I don't know why anybody runs marathons.
Someone like my brother, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, but if we decide that's what we're going to do and we become the best marathon runners in the world and we go out and run a marathon, can we do that without pain?
No.
Nobody does, right?
Yeah.
And so it's the most normal experience in the world to have pain, yet it's something that people are intensely afraid of, and they do so much to avoid. And so, um, what I really enjoy is teaching people how to have a different experience around pain because it doesn't go away, right? If I fix this pain, you'll have a different one later,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But I like giving people tools for overcoming that pain, and it extends just beyond like their backs and things like that. And I'd like to think that there's people that are able to like overcome the pain of unemployment because we had a good laugh, right? Or a good experience together, or the pain of failure, or like a bad relationship, or depression, or anything like that. And it's a really, really good experience. That's very fulfilling for me. And I just happen to make money doing it, which is cool too. So,
Yeah.
so
That's very cool. But there's nothing wrong with that. I mean,
no,
I don't want to speak for you, but that's the goal for a lot of people is be
yeah,
able to do something you enjoy,
sure.
get fulfillment, and be able to pay your bills and support your family.
And that's right. And that's really what it is that's the thing about the money is being able to see the effect that it has on people that you love, right? So being able to take care of my family, give my kids things that I didn't have, and then later realize why I didn't have them. It was because my parents were wise, not because they didn't have money. It's like, oh, okay, that's why I didn't get that. But and also I get a lot of satisfaction around being able to see the people that I work with do well, right? I like it when people who work for me make money or they're able to buy things and stuff.
Yeah.
That's very satisfying.
One thing I want to ask you about is that dynamic. You said we a lot, and like you mentioned earlier, your wife is your business partner, office manager, right?
Yeah.
And then your kids are now working in some capacity,
Yes.
whether that's indefinite or not.
Right.
But how do you find that balance of like time in the office with family and time at home and like
Yeah.
vacations and all that? How does that?
Gosh, it's a really great question. So because that's something that's evolving too.
Yeah.
So we have, I think one of the secrets to my success is a concept that we have. The two words we use for is Team Young, and it is just like I would describe it as like a relentless, undying, sometimes aggressive commitment to each other, to support each other, work hard for each other, sacrifice for each other. And so I will rarely talk about things, and whenever it comes to accomplishments and things like that, I will rarely ever talk about those in terms of things that I've done. Because even if I'm out there and I'm doing all the heavy lifting, like I have people at home that are making life work. And so
Yeah.
I don't get to do what I do without them doing what they do, right?
Yeah.
And so it's very satisfying that we all get to share in each other's accomplishments. So like for example, I was voted the alumnus of the year in 2016 for my chiropractic college. And the thing that's funny about it is like looking back at 2016, it like wasn't even that great of a year. I like get this award and I'm like, oh, this is a good year. I was like, I don't know, this one felt kind of crappy to me, but that was I remember when I gave that speech, that was an award for my whole family.
Yeah.
Right? It had very little. Well, I shouldn't say it had very little. It had some to do with what I was doing, but without my family, we don't make that happen.
Yeah.
Like even getting through school, right? I had one term where so I have these two kids under the age of 2. I had to wake up early in the morning, go down to the school before my kids are awake. And I go and I do all the school stuff, study groups, internship. I come home and it's like 8:30 and my kids are already in bed. So I get to see my daughters every single day, but they're asleep and I just get to play with them on the weekends, right?
Yeah.
And that's difficult. That's a lot of sacrifice, right?
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, and then now, like my daughters who are OSU, like I'm tremendously proud of them. They're so successful. They got these awesome internships coming up, and my kids have like great grades and everything like that. And what we've been able to accomplish together in Body of Health has trickled over into them now feeling like they're empowered to do some of those things. So one of my daughters, she has her own social media business, and and I think, well, part of it I know because I told her this stuff, but I'm like, look, you look at what we've done, like what our family has done with the chiropractic clinic, and you bet on yourself and you learn from some failures and you take a risk, and that stuff that you're doing and you're getting paid very little for, you can make that into a business. And so she does, and after 2 months, she's profitable. And a month after that, she's bought herself a brand new car. And it's like,
Wow.
yeah, and so now she's got like savings and all this kind of stuff. And that uh built into like a couple summers later, we go to this business and we're like, I think we could do this. And this is in another state. And so we all sit around, we talk about it, and we start a business. And so now we have this business where we sell drinks. And so we're at the fair and stuff like that. And the kids are running this, and everybody has a part, and they do their thing. And I have another daughter who teaches piano, and she did that because she was like, you know what? I see other piano teachers out there, and I know how to play piano, and I could do this. And so she has her piano business. And so it's really thrilling to look at my kids, and they don't have a fear of taking a risk and starting a business. And a big part of that is because they know that they have Team Young, right? Where everybody's going to show up for them.
Yeah.
So if they're like, hey, I want to do this thing, it's not just like, oh, they're going to get daddy's money because daddy doesn't have a lot of money, but there's going to be some late nights where everybody's staying up late and we're putting together whatever it is that you have. Or, if you're falling apart and you're feeling like you can't do it, there's going to be some discussions around the island in the kitchen where we're going to help you work through your problems and everything like that.
Yeah.
And it's so rewarding to be able to be a part of a group like that. And it's not just business, it's socially too. So like my boys, high school, middle school, they're going off to do something like a sporting event, and they're walking off, and I roll down my window and I say, hey, like, what's the most important team that you're going to watch? And they say, it's Team Young. It's like, okay, so all that other stuff's second. And it just feels good to know that you have people that are looking out for you. And I think that there's real like power in that. And so it's been nice that we kind of infect each other with passion and with confidence and support and everything like that. And so my family makes me feel like I can do anything.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's a really rewarding thing. And I really credit my wife because I think that she bought into that concept before anybody in the family. And so she is really kind of the driving force behind that. And she doesn't take any like selfishness or anything like that. She always brings it back to, this is our team and these are our people and that's what we're going to do. And so just like what a nice kind of tent to live under, right? A nice canopy where I know that I'm protected by my family because I have people that they're going to support me no matter what. And I'm going to do the same for them. And I wish everybody had something like that because like what could you not get done? Right.
Right. Yeah, I know. I think that's really, really cool that you have that. And then that you and your wife have grown that for your kids too. And that obviously is giving them such confidence to do amazing things. And then the second thing I was going to say is like, that really highlights that point of money isn't everything. I feel like that's the default of what we're taught. It's just like, oh, well, I could accomplish this or that if I had
right
X amount of money. But like oftentimes it might be a factor.
Yeah.
But it's usually not the factor. And sometimes it's not even really a factor at all. It's mostly the confidence and the support.
Right.
To actually take something on or try to take something on and do it with something. So
I think you're totally right. And I was we've been playing this video game where you can get these power-ups and everything. And one of the things I noticed is that if you have those power-ups, like it becomes really easy to pass levels, right? And so some people in the family don't have any power ups left, and other people, me, do. And so it's like, they're like, man, how are you passing all these up? Well, I've got all this stuff, right? And so like really lends to that idea that the rich get richer, right? And that is how it works in the real world. So if you look at some people who are successful, it's because they started very close to the finish line, right?
Yeah.
The rich really do get richer. And so I think that a lot of times when we talk about that, it's in the context of, things aren't fair or they aren't equal. And we're looking at like people who are kind of on the suffering end of that. But I think it's really something where everybody can take advantage of that concept. And here's what I mean by that. So first of all, if you have something like a resource, or like for me, it's a support system, that kind of thing. You use that to your advantage to get what you want. So like I have a really great family support system. I'm going to use that to my advantage so that I can accomplish my goals and to take care of them and vice versa, right? I think that another piece of that is that you have to approach that advantage with gratitude. So I think that a lot of times we're taught the appropriate response to that is self-loathing, which is a worthless emotion. It does not make anybody better to be self-loathing. And so when I look at my situation with my family and also the family that I come from, the fact that I grew up in this town, which is a safe town, right, where I have opportunities and things like that. I grew up in a country where I have the freedom to do the things that I want to. And I grow up in a time when, when I have opportunities, right? So like my wife is white. Like if I would have grown up 200 years ago, my wife, she's not my wife, right? And so it's like you just got to look at the things where it's like you have opportunities and resources and things, and they're blessings, and you have to approach those with gratitude. And as you do that, you get more things. And part of the reason is because you're able to utilize those things well, right? And then I think the other part of that is that you have to then use those riches, whether it's monetary or whatever it is, to help other people that don't have that same starting place as you, right? And so, I got to go to chiropractic school, which what a tremendous blessing, right? And to think about all the things that enabled me to do that, like I didn't have to wake up every day and take care of a sick parent. I didn't have to split time between, a divorced family or anything like that. And it's not that those things are bad or make somebody a bad person. It's just that wasn't my experience, right? That wasn't my circumstance. I didn't ever in my entire life, I didn't ever have to wonder where food was coming from or if I was going to have to sleep in a car or anything like that. And so those were things that gave me opportunities to go out and do other things, right? And so if now I take what I have and, I have some stability, I'm standing on my feet, and I can help people who maybe do have to worry about those things, if I can help them worry less, then it's not just that the rich get richer, it's everybody can get rich off of some of my riches.
Yeah, you help disperse that a little bit.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that, honestly, it just solves a lot of the world's problems. Is everybody's got this fear of lack, right? I don't have enough. And I've certainly felt that in my life, just in different aspects. But I think that when we kind of give until it hurts, when we're willing to put energy and pour into other people, even knowing that sometimes we're going to be disappointed and that's not going to be reciprocated, or it's not going to make the impact that we want, or it's not even going to be recognized or appreciated, then that solves so many problems. And I think that is very important also in like business too. Like there's so many businesses that poured into my business, and I got to pour into theirs, and that's how I got rich, right? I'm not rich, but like rich, right?
Sure.
the air quote rich.
Yeah, air quote rich.
Everybody could be air quote rich, right? But I think it's when you find opportunities to pour into other people instead of like just focusing inward. I think that's what makes everything better, and you can really feel like you're rich without even a bunch of money. So,
Right.
which one day I'd like to try the type of rich where you also have a bunch of money. I hear that's pretty cool, right?
I hear that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to also try that.
Call me up when you get there.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Those are really, so valid points. If you do capitalize is such a loaded word, but
Mm-hmm.
take advantage of what you have and what you are giving your situation. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
And you should feel grateful and have gratitude, and then use it, and then grow, and then you can help push that back out into the world. It's not necessarily like a linear equation, really, in the end. So.
Yeah. Well, and there's so many ways to do it, right? You don't even have to wait until you're super successful. And that's the thing that's great about it. Like every once in a while, like I almost don't want to put this out there because I'm worried somebody will see it and be like, well, how come you don't do that for me? But every once in a while I come across a patient who they're like, yeah, I don't know what to do with my life, or I lost my job. And so then we just kind of talk about it. And it's like, well, do you have something where like you don't have to have a boss? You don't have to rely on somebody paying you minimum wage, that you could go out there and you could just be your own boss, like a side hustle or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's been fun sitting there with patients sometimes and just talking with them about like, these are the things that you can do. And I know of a couple they've gone out and they've started their own thing, right? And some of them have failed and some of them have been successful. But it's like, for me, that's like kind of like playing the meta game, right? It's like, oh, I also gave them an adjustment. And I got paid for giving that adjustment. But the thing that's neat to me is like I help that person to get like better, right?
Yeah.
Not just like less pain, but I help them to be better because they got to be in an opportunity where somebody was willing to have that conversation with them, where somebody expressed some confidence in them and encouraged them to bet on themselves. And I never do it because like, it's like, well, if I could just pour some fake confidence into you, like, let's see what happens. But I think that there's so many people out there that they're just wonderful people and they have capabilities they don't recognize because they have too much experience with their own fear and failure that they don't understand that it's like, yeah, you know what? You could be a great dog walker, right? You could be a really great one, but you're busy thinking about all the other dog walkers out there. But me, who knows nothing about dog walking, I see your ability as a dog walker and you could do this. Right. Somebody would pay you for this. I would pay you for this, Yeah. And I think that whenever they're able to have a breakthrough in something like that and do something for themselves, like that's like people getting better. And I love that. And it doesn't necessarily even have to do anything with what I went to chiropractic school for.
Sure.
It really, really makes me feel good to be able to make a difference in somebody's life, like out there instead of just like in my clinic. It drives my wife nuts sometimes because whenever I have those conversations, it puts me behind schedule.
Yeah. But it's cool though, because I mean, your patients must value that so much, like that connection, which is totally intentional. It's what you've been talking about, of like they come in and they're not going, because I know I can speak for myself, and I assume there's lots of other people who've had experiences in various medical treatment, dentists, general practitioner, chiropractor, whatever, PTs, that they come in, you just feel like you're cattle being pushed through, and you're just like, all right, and you check this, and you ask this question, and it's very, I don't know. Those are the type of experiences that make you not want to go to whatever medical provider. So I think it's so cool that you're doing that, because there is an immense value and good that comes of that. Because I mean, we're social creatures and we need that. We need those conversations. We need those boosts from each other.
Right.
That whatever, even if it's like a suggestion, like you're talking about, or a little boost of confidence, like that's everything.
Yeah.
So
well, and I know for a fact that I have people who come and they see me, and it's not because of adjustments, right? They come because they want to just kind of be awash in the vibe, right?
Yeah.
And that makes me feel good too. And it's and it's not something that I invented. Like, it's something that I've had other healthcare providers modeled to me. Like, so the building that we're in, is right next to this dentist's office.
Mhm.
And so my dentist, before I was going to chiropractic school, like, he would have these conversations with me, and he'd talk to me about like saving money. I wasn't listening to him then, but he's like, yeah, you should save money. You shouldn't become a chiropractor. You should become a dentist. You'll make more money. He was probably right about that too. But he invested in me, and that's good healthcare, right? He also took care of my teeth,
Sure.
but that's cool. And one of the things that's really awesome is when I started my clinic across the parking lot from his clinic, and so he watched us grow. And we'd have conversations sometimes about like, see, you should have been a dentist. And so one day he walked into my clinic and he said, "Hey, look, I know that you've been interested in buying a building, and I want to make you an offer that you can't refuse." And I know you're going to say, "Oh, we don't have enough for a down payment or anything like that." But he's like, come over here and look at this building. So go over there, look at the building and everything like that. And he said, "Look, if you want the building, you can buy the building from me and I'll finance it. And you don't need a down payment." It was like,
Wow.
what? And so then like my whole mindset shifted from, leases and like what's the right thing to do and everything like that to all I need to do is figure out, can I fit all my stuff into this building? And there is no reason for us not to buy this building,
Yeah.
And so, I've seen that model from other healthcare providers. It had nothing to do with my teeth. It has to do with the fact that he cares about people, and that is and should be the core of healthcare, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that everybody's doctor should just like sell them a building or something like that, but then like you bring that full circle, and I look at where I am now, where I go to practice every single day, and having that building is a blessing, and it's not something that was given to me. I'm paying for it, right? But that opportunity and that hand up, it's like, and I look at like all my successes, and I was on this board and that board, and it's like he was a part of that. He made that possible. And I'm free to do certain things because like he cared about me. And so then whenever I go and I help people in that building, like he's a part of that too. And it's just really, really neat. Other people are getting the trickle down effect of his healthcare for me and my healthcare for them. And it's happening in a setting that he provided. And how cool is that, right?
It's very cool.
Yeah. Who knows what the next day will bring? So
That's a whole nother topic in itself, is just not being able to predict the future and how you approach that. But
yeah.
I'm not going to open that can of worms because we're going to be talking for 5 hours here. I want to ask you, speaking of the future, do you have any plans you might want to share or thoughts of what you might want to do in the near future?
One of the things, like I mentioned, I'm trying to add more providers to the practice. One of the reasons I want to do that is because I want to be able to transition to another phase of owning a clinic and a business, which is kind of more development. Like I've always thought that the idea of having more than one practice might be cool. But when you're treating 150 people a week, you can't really do those.
Not a lot of
things, right?
capacity, yeah.
Exactly. And so I want to add some associates so that I'm able to cut back on some of my patient time and work on, and really the question, Owen, is, can I reproduce what I've already done? Right. So when I came into this, it's like, we don't know what we're doing. What can we make?
Yeah.
And now it's like, now I've made something that I kind of like, and can I remake that? And how quickly can I do that?
Yeah.
And so can I do another body of health, like in another location? Does it only work in this community, right? Does it only work if I'm in the building?
Right.
Right. Does it only work if my wife, is involved with it? And so that's kind of what like I toy around with in my head, is like, that would be cool in the future. My wife hates that idea. She's like, why don't you just
What reasons?
she's like, why don't you just make some money and retire? Like, I don't want to do another clinic. So it's funny. Let's see, last summer, my daughter came to me and she's like, Dad, I'm going to make like $7,000 this summer working at your clinic. I said, really? How are you going to do that? She's like, I'm just going to work a ton of hours. And so I went to my wife and I was like, hey, how come she's telling me that she's going to make all this money from working all these hours? You can't just give like people's hours to our daughter. That's nepotism. I'm pretty sure that's not even legal. Like, and she's like, oh, I'm not giving her any of their hours. I said, well, why is she saying she's going to make all this? She said, I'm giving her my hours. I said, what? She's like, yeah, I'm not working this summer. I said, what? I was like, well, I want one. So
Yeah.
yeah. So she is, in my opinion, she's the heart and soul of what we do.
Mhm.
But she's like, I want to do other stuff. And so,
Yeah.
whenever I'm like, yeah, let's start another clinic. She's like, but we probably eventually would. But yeah, that's what I'd like to see in the future is can I recreate this without me being the centerpiece of it?
Yeah.
And that would make me feel good because that would mean that we've really been doing a good thing, not just that I've been putting on a show, right? And so that would be good.
I think putting on a show probably sells yourself short a little bit, but I get what you're saying.
Well, sometimes that's what it feels like, right? Walk into work and like, hey, everybody, how you doing? Right? Step right up. Right.
Yeah, maybe, but I'd be surprised if your patients feel that way. But yes.
Well, I'm sure that their experience with it is actually much different than the one that I'm having.
Yeah.
But it takes a lot, I think, and I don't think I'm always successful at this. And I think that because it's so busy, I think I'm less successful maybe at this point in my career than I've ever been at it, which kind of hurts. But it's a difficult skill to get into a room with somebody and convince them that you think that they're the only person in the world.
Yeah.
And these days, just because of the schedule and the load, that's more and more difficult to do. And I feel it. And I hope that my patients don't feel it as much. But I mean, when you were talking before about feeling like cattle, that's really what it is like healthcare is so overloaded. Like if you try and get if you move to a town and you want to get an appointment with a general practitioner, a lot of times you got to wait like 4 or 5 months.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, hope you don't die, right? So
I have friends in that boat, unfortunately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the dying, but general.
And so it's a really difficult thing, and I don't like that feeling that I can't deliver that for people every time,
Right.
because I feel like that's part of the magic is making people feel like I'm not thinking about what's going on down the hall or in the next room or what just happened. But I think there's only so many human experiences that you could have in like a 5 to 8 hour period and not have them bleed over. But I'd love to be able to discover the secret to doing that. So somebody probably thinks that they have it figured out, and that person should email me, and because I'd love to know.
Yeah. Well, I would imagine that is one reason why people, and you're talking about yourself now, might have their career where they progress from like being a practitioner to getting more associates than having just kind of more of an administrative role only and all that. It's just like, that's what we do. We only have capacity and energy to do something for so long. And when we've outgrown it, then it's like we're actually not helping anyone.
Right.
So
then you have to help train and develop the next generation.
Move into another phase.
Exactly. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of trying to recreate it is I want to teach other providers to do what I do or what I feel like I'm doing, what I think I'm doing. I want to teach them to do what I think I'm doing. And there's a part of me that wants to get into chiropractic education. Like I'm toying around with the idea of like doing a PhD program, because if you want to get into, higher education administration, a lot of times that is one of the barriers to entry. And so, like doing a program like that so that, when one day I'm not going to be treating patients anymore, I can still be helping to. I mean, I think it would just be a waste to like one day close it all down and all the lessons that I learned and how to take care of people, they just cease to exist.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to be able to pass some of that down. And it's not that I think that what I have is special, but or unique or like nobody's ever done it before. And, you know, in just 12 simple steps, you could buy my system. Those are the kinds of things that are out there. But I want some young doctor to know that they can do it, right?
Right.
That they don't need permission from a hospital or a county or even from other doctors to like take care of people, build people, and stuff like that. And so I think that's something that I could pass on, and I would tell them like, do it your way. You don't have to do it funny, or you don't have to do it serious, or this color or that color,
Yeah.
or you know,
Find what works for you.
yeah, exactly. Like be uniquely you and go and do it. Like I know a doctor who he's got tattoos everywhere and he wears like skate shoes to work and everything like that. And you look at his patients who come in, they all look like him, right? And it's
Yeah.
like that patient's going to be way more comfortable at his clinic than my clinic.
Sure.
I mean, we'll take good care of them, but
Yeah.
I mean, that's like their home, right? That's
Right,
like
yeah.
a cool place to be.
Yeah.
I get Duck fans that come in, and
Go out, man.
I sit them down in my little beaver room. Like there's like beaver stuff everywhere and everything like that. But I mean, I take care of them, but they might want to fly south to Eugene and see a chiropractor there. It's got lots of green and yellow and stuff. And
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the great things about health clinics and private practices is that they become what their community needs, right?
Mhm.
And that's something that's really kind of lost in the big hospital model is the idea of a physician who sees a patient and is like, you know, I treated your grandfather, right? Because it's like they've been there in that community and they're a piece of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know that that's being lost, but I'm afraid that it might be
Yeah.
because and I get it. We need efficiency in healthcare, but I mean the soul in healthcare, that's a lot of fun. It's a cool thing. The whole idea of like a family doctor is just kind of it's going away because well, there's a lot of reasons, but
Yeah.
I'm just glad to be here to see it all die. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, maybe you can play a part in influencing it to a degree.
Yeah, well, and I think it's just about providers making the choice. I guess having the courage, taking a risk to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's sacrificing some of the financial opportunities so that you could do something that really feels good, that like you believe in, and you could still really make a good living. Just kind of keeping that soul there and remembering that healthcare is about people and humans and getting better. It's not about treatments.
Mm-hmm.
The funny thing about treatments is that they all kind of work. They do. And so people are like, does chiropractic work on placebo? And yeah, it does. I mean, there's also other stuff that it works on, but you know what else works on placebo? Surgery. Surgery works on placebo. Medication works on placebo. And it's just this whole idea that I'm receiving care, I'm receiving treatment, so now I can be better.
Yeah.
That's your mind at work. And placebo was the gold standard of healthcare. It is the treatment against which everything else gets measured. And if you can't beat like the human mind, then your treatment has no value.
Yeah.
So it's like, how many treatments do we have out there that are better than placebo? Well, it's a lot less than people think.
Huh.
Right? Oh yeah, it's
Interesting.
It's astonishing. It's
Yeah.
scary. It's kind of a freaky thing. Like people think, oh well, because it comes out of that hospital,
Yeah.
then it's evidence based. It's science, right?
Yeah.
Not the case.
Huh.
There's so much that happens there that is just it's treatments that were like. I'll give you a good example. I don't know if you have any kids, but if
I do not.
you do not, okay. Well, I'm going to give you an imaginary kid. Okay.
Oh.
You get an imaginary kid. What's your kid's name?
Let's say Ian.
Ian. Okay.
Yeah.
Imaginary Ian. Ian gets an ear infection. Very painful, right? Ian can't sleep. You take Ian to the pediatrician, and the pediatrician looks in Ian's ear and is like, you know what? You have something called otitis media, right? It's a little earache. They'll probably even call it an ear infection. It's actually just an earache. And they're like, so Ian's going to be fine, right? Ian can take a little Tylenol, put like a warm compress on there, just to help the symptoms, and this is going to clear up.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be like, we tried the Tylenol, the warm compresses, and he's in a lot of pain. Like, what can we do?
Yeah.
And so then the doctor says, you know what? I'm going to write you a prescription for antibiotics, right? And so now you feel good because you have something that you can treat Ian with.
Yeah.
So you go to the pharmacy, you get the antibiotics, you start to give it to little Ian, and little Ian feels uncomfortable for the next few days, but is getting better and better. And you're like, these antibiotics worked, and they didn't, because antibiotics treat bacterial infections, and there wasn't a bacterial infection. It was just, there was inflammation in there, but you felt better because you had a treatment that you could give, right? And we do that also as when it's us too, right? It's like, it's very common for people to call us up, make an appointment. Then when they come in a few days later, they're like, oh, you know what? Like, it was really hurting when I called, but now it feels better. When did it start feeling better? Weird. It was like after I made the appointment. It's like, oh, okay. And there's actually a name for that. That's called placebo effect. It's when you are expecting to receive a treatment, you start improving right away, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of people.
I've experienced this one.
You have? Okay.
Dozens of
Tell me about it.
Well, I said I have scoliosis.
Yes.
It's had, I don't want to go into my full medical history for brevity's sake, but essentially cascading stuff with hip issues, knee issues, and all that. I've seen multiple chiropractors over the years and PTs. And there's sometimes when I have a flare-up of pain, whether it's the scoliosis in the back itself or one of the cascading issues, and make the appointment. It's not for 2 weeks, not for 3 weeks.
Start feeling better on it.
I get in to see the provider, and they're just like, what's bothering you today? I'm like, nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm good.
But I was in pain when I called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they actually saw this in studies. So they would have people who they're like, hey, you're going to be a part of a study. It's going to be about this condition, and this, you're going to be given a medication or a placebo or something like that. And they found that people, whenever they had an expectation that there was going to be a treatment, they started improving. And sometimes it was even affecting some of the study results because, like, they didn't have symptomatic people because they knew that there was some sort of treatment coming. And so that is the power of our mind, right? And our expectations and that whole experience. It has nothing to do with the treatments, because treatments work. Like, a lot of treatments work, whether we know how or not. Like, the very first chiropractic adjustment was given for a man who was deaf. He had lost his hearing 17 years earlier. He had been deaf, well documented, family, friends, everything like that. He gets these chiropractic adjustments. Boom, his hearing comes back. Also well documented, family members, friends, like, and so it's like, wow, how'd that work? We have no clue. We have no clue how it worked. So don't send me your deaf people, because I don't know how to fix them.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a weird and magical thing that we respond to treatments, we respond to care, we respond to X-rays, which is weird. Sometimes people are like, if you could just take an X-ray of my low back, so we can know what's going on. And people go and they get the X-rays, and now they feel better because they were able to see that there was no problem in there, which is a terrible use of X-rays. But
I mean, if the end result's someone feeling better, but
it's a little higher risk than something like, here, eat these Rice Krispies and you'll feel great.
Some radiation.
I've never seen that work, but so it's a weird thing. And I told you there's some people that they're coming to see me, and it's not for the treatments. Like, we can help those people get better, and we don't even have to do an adjustment. I still treat them, but it's,
well, I mean, but you don't have to, medically speaking, but like you kind of do for the placebo effect.
Sure. Yeah.
Effective. So
I mean, there's got to be a sugar pill, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing. And then it like gets you into other things where it's like, I had a patient who has an autoimmune disease, and for years he's controlled it completely with meditation.
Wow.
right? And so he's taken like all the medications you're supposed to take and everything like that, and dealt with all the side effects and everything like that. And he has completely quit all those things, and he just controls all of his symptoms with meditation, which is really cool because the only place in your body that you feel pain is in your brain,
Yeah.
right? Just ask anybody who's brain dead. They aren't in pain. They probably won't tell you that because they're brain dead, but
Limiting.
yeah.
But yeah.
So, but yeah, it's a really amazing thing, and it's exciting to be a part of because sometimes you just never know. You never know how things are going to turn out.
Yeah.
And I've treated plenty of people who I did the right thing, I fixed the problem, and they still have pain, right? And sometimes people continue to have pain because they're choosing pain. Pain is serving them in some other way than what they think. And so some people, their disease becomes their identity. And so then that leads us to being very careful how we talk to people about stuff. Like there's something called like degenerative joint disease. I don't like to talk about it because if I tell you have degenerative joint disease,
it's planted in the mind and think, oh, or I might have that.
I'll give you a great example. I hate it when people come in and they're like, yeah, I've got pre-diabetes. I'm like, don't say that. Because what comes after pre-diabetes?
Diabetes.
Yeah. Is there any other outcome? No, not if it's pre-diabetes, right?
Yeah, it's already it's like a path is set.
Yeah. And so, and doctors will even talk with people about it. And this isn't a knock on doctors. It's just, it's routine. Like it's hard. You get locked into this mindset, but they'll talk to them and they'll be like, yeah, you've got pre-diabetes. You need to take control of your diet and exercise. And then when these numbers get high, we'll start giving you metformin or Ozempic or whatever. And it's just like, I mean, you got to wonder, like, did I just tell that person to get diabetes?
Yeah.
And did I speed it up because I told them what you do? We could start giving you some medication. And so it's a weird thing. I don't have an answer to that, but I like to call it by its actual name, which is metabolic syndrome. Which, if I tell you have metabolic syndrome, it's like, wow, well, just like, how do I get better from that? Like, do I automatically get diabetes? Well, metabolic syndrome doesn't say that you do. So there's a lot of just little nuances whenever it comes to healthcare where it's like, I can make you worse with words, right? I can put a label on you. I could put a thought in your mind. And chiropractors are terrible about this. Some are, where they would show these models of degenerating spines and they're deteriorating. Like, look, you're going from this to this to this unless you get an adjustment, which not true. Like eventually everybody's spine kind of looks like that because it's associated with age and not even associated with symptoms. But so yeah, in some ways chiropractors are worse about it than other people. And it's because, oh geez, I could just talk to you all day, Owen. It's because when you have a back problem, like if you cut off a finger, you would know exactly where to go, right? You're not going to be like, well, let me get on Google and check some of these reviews and stuff like that. Let's find out where the best place to go get my finger sewn on.
The ER. Yeah,
you're just going to scoop up your finger like, I don't know. Oh no, it's a tooth you put in milk. Put your finger in milk. Don't do that.
Yeah.
You're going to take this finger, you take it to the ER and they're going to sew it up, right?
Yeah.
But when you have back pain, now you're going to get online, you're going to like check reviews and you're going to ask a few people, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's chiropractors out there that like nobody is just being automatically pointed your direction. You have to be a salesperson, which sucks, you know? It's like nobody wants to be, but you got to be a salesperson in order to have a successful business where your practice is.
Yeah, like we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and part of that is like how you talk to people about this is your condition. Like you have to sell it to them. Like, hey, look, if you don't get treatment, then yada yada yada. So I try and skip all that. Just let people know this is what you have going on. These are the treatments that we can do. And sometimes, like if it's like, oh yeah, that earache, right? Sometimes I like to tell people if you do nothing, you will get better, right? You're just going to get better. It's inevitable. That's just what's going to happen. What we can do by doing treatment is maybe help speed that up, but you're going to get better. And I think that's a really powerful thing to tell people, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times whenever people come in and they have low back pain, which is probably one of the most common reasons that people come in,
Hmm.
I tell people, if you do nothing, you're probably going to get better, right? This is not the rest of your life. It's going to improve.
Yeah.
But here are some things that we could do to maybe speed that up. And here are some tools that I could give you so that if this happens, you are empowered to be able to like do these exercises, change your work environment, things like that, so that you can avoid this kind of thing in the future.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to make people reliant on me or anything like that. I think that it's really about helping people to understand kind of the physician that's inside of them, because most people they aren't going to do what I say anyways, right?
Right.
So I had a lady who came in today, and I told her, "Hey, your problem is this. It's a muscle problem." So she came back in. She's like, "Yeah, so I went to an orthopedist and we did x-rays and there wasn't anything on the x-ray." I was like, "Yeah, there was anything on the x-rays because you got a muscle problem, right?" And then she's like, "Yeah, so anyway, if I do these 4 PT sessions, then I could get an MRI." I was like, "Don't get an MRI. It's not going to show you anything. It's a muscle problem, and that muscle isn't even going to be damaged on the MRI. It's just like, you just got to do these exercises." She's like, "Yeah, but I could get the MRI." And so it's like, and then I'll know for sure. And it's like, you do you. Okay.
Yeah, you can't force someone.
Right.
Yeah. That's gotta
Yeah.
be so frustrating as a healthcare provider, but
Sometimes, but I don't know. For the most part, it's like they'll figure it out the hard way.
sure.
Yeah. Or, there's people where it's like, I had this one young lady who was coming in. I was like, "Listen, you just need to get into your life. You need to be more active. You need to get out there and like do some stuff. You have like all the equipment's good. You don't have a broken body. I know that you have some pain, but like you can go for a hike and you can have a job and you can swim. You can do whatever you want. You just got to get out there and do it."
Mhm.
She's like, "No, I can't. I've got these problems, and my grandma's got these problems too. And my dad had a really bad back." And it was just like, okay. So like over and over, I'm trying to tell her. So she disappears for a few months, and then she comes back. I'm like, "Man, you seem like you're doing great." She's like, "Yeah, I went to my therapist, and my therapist clued me into something, which was that like I can still do things even though I have pain." I was like, "Really, your therapist? Your therapist told you that?" She's like, "Yeah." And like once I like kind of caught on to that, all my problems started going away. I'm like, "That's just amazing. I'm so happy for you, right?" And you are, and it's funny, you laugh, but and I think what that taught me was that I can do all the right stuff, and if people aren't ready for a solution, they're just not going to get it now. But you're just there for the journey, and you cheer for them when they hit the finish line, and
Yeah.
it's all good. I got paid every time they showed up, I guess. So
Yeah. And just I
Yeah.
guess for your own sake, just not taking those things personally.
yeah,
Just like,
Right.
I did what I could and I tried my genuinely hardest.
and that's true. And like think
Yeah.
about every time you've gone to the doctor, like you weren't like, "Well, I'm going to this doctor for this doctor's ego and to see what he can do."
Right.
So
Yeah.
that he can feel good about treating my problem. That's not why anybody goes to a healthcare provider.
Never thought about it till now. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, but when you're on the other end of that, you're like, "Man, I just really want to like be the one to solve this problem and everything." That's not what your patient's thinking about. They're thinking
No.
about, "I just want this problem solved." Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's fun. Healthcare is fun because there's so many lessons there. And it's not just about health, it's about life and everything like that. So
Yeah.
hmm
Is there any advice you'd have for people who are considering this path of self-employment? I know we've talked a lot about
Mhm.
healthcare specifically, but just general advice.
Take a risk, like roll the dice, bet on yourself. Don't be afraid to fall flat on your face. And part of the reason for that is, I mean, I'm assuming that this is a generally like American audience, maybe worldwide.
We'll
But
see how it goes.
all I know about is this frame of reference where we live in a place where you can fail and you're generally going to be okay. You can even like get a reputation for your failure and you can rehabilitate it. And it's okay. You will always be able to find somebody who will give you support in accomplishing your dream. They might not always be easy to find, but you can do it. You can go out and you can do something that's wild, and everybody else tells you that's just a huge failure. It's not going to be good, and they might be right, but you get to the next thing, the thing that's really going to succeed, sometimes by doing the thing that just falls flat. And so I'm just really, really fortunate that the first thing I tried, like as an entrepreneur, is still going. So, and I say it's still going because, I mean, I guess another 16 years from now, we'll find out if it succeeded or not, right?
Right, yeah.
Who knows, right?
That check-in, yeah.
Yeah, we'll find out. So maybe little Ian will be running the camera or something. So, that's it. Just go for it. Fail, get up, fail again until you accidentally succeed, and then take full credit for it.
Yeah, there you go. That's sound advice. So how can people find you if they're interested in
Sure.
body of health?
So I think you can hit me on the socials. I think that's how they say it now. Pretty much everything is at Body of Health. So on Instagram, if you look at Body of Health, that's us. And you can send us an instant message. We will respond in some way. And that's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. So,
Okay.
Yeah, Instagram at Body of Health. There.
Gotcha. Perfect. We'll put that in the show notes.
Like and follow. Don't smash the subscribe button. Like gently depress.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we were talking about smash button
Yes.
off camera. So yeah.
Yes, you don't have to aggressively smash it. So yeah.
Well,
But yeah, thank you for the invite to do this. This has been fun.
I was just about to say, yeah, it's been really fun. You're the first and only, as far as recording date, healthcare provider I've interviewed. So it's really been cool, like seeing kind of behind the curtain of what that's like in the healthcare realm of self-employment. So I really appreciate your time.
Well, thank you for the invite. I didn't realize how much I would enjoy this, but it's been fun to sit here and just talk about stuff that I didn't even know I was thinking about, I guess. So
Yeah. Cool. Well, that's awesome, Jason. Yeah, really appreciate it.
yes, sir.
All right. And there you have it. This has been a super fun conversation with Jason. Like I just said, first one to date with a healthcare provider. So it's been really cool seeing behind the curtain of what that's like as far as self-employment and just the healthcare industry in general. If you want to hear sort of similar conversations, like or subscribe and follow the podcast. Until then, this has been the Bossless Path. Catch you next time.